What would you do if the person you trusted most became your worst nightmare? Emily Davis thought she had it all. A billionaire husband, a penthouse overlooking San Francisco, two beautiful children, the kind of life people dream about. Then she found $47 million hidden in offshore accounts, and everything changed. What happened next wasn't just about money, it was about control, gaslighting, a plan to steal her children and lock her away in a psychiatric facility. And it all exploded at a museum gala, in front of 300 witnesses when a mistress whispered three words in her husband's ear. This is the true story of how one woman fought back against a billionaire who thought he was untouchable. How a powerful woman walked in at exactly the right moment, and how sometimes surviving is the greatest victory of all. This is Emily's story. And it starts with a question she never thought she'd have to ask. How do you escape a cage when everyone thinks you're crazy for wanting out? The hospital room was too quiet for 3 in the morning. Emily Davis Webb sat in the stiff chair beside her newborn daughter's bassinet, her left arm heavy in its fresh cast. The police officer stationed outside her door shifted his weight, and the movement sent shadows dancing across the pale walls. Emily's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. 10,000 notifications. 20,000. Her face was on every news site, every social media platform, every television screen across the country. The headlines were all variations of the same thing. Tech billionaire Marcus Webb, arrested after museum gala assault. Wife's arm broken while holding infant. She stared at the screen, but the words didn't quite register. Her mind kept replaying the moment over and over. The sound of her bones snapping, her daughter's screams, the crowd flooding in. Catherine Webb, her mother-in-law, walking through the chaos like a queen entering a battlefield. Everyone wants to know how I let it get this far, Emily thought. The truth? I didn't even know I was in a cage until I tried to leave. She closed her eyes and let herself drift back. 4 months earlier, when she still believed in the fairy tale. 4 months earlier, San Francisco gleamed like a promise. The penthouse Marcus had bought overlooked the bay, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the water like a painting that changed with every hour. Emily had loved this view once. Now it just felt like living in a glass box, beautiful and cold. She was 32 years old, 8 months pregnant with their second child, and she couldn't remember the last time she'd left the building without Marcus's permission. Not permission, she corrected herself automatically, without Marcus knowing. He didn't control her. He worried about her. There was a difference. Wasn't there? Emily sat at the kitchen island, Marcus's laptop open in front of her. Her own computer had been broken for 3 weeks now. Marcus kept saying he'd take it to get fixed, but he was so busy with work. She understood. Building a tech empire didn't leave much time for household errands. She was updating their household budget, something she'd done since they got married. Marcus had always said he loved that about her head for numbers. "You're so smart, Em," he'd say, kissing her forehead. "I trust you completely." That trust felt warm then. Now, as she scrolled through credit card statements, it felt like something else entirely. The company card charges didn't match Marcus's expense reports. Emily frowned, clicking through the statements more carefully. $47 million in wire transfers to offshore accounts, all labeled consulting fees, Web Tech Solutions, LLC. She opened a new tab and Googled the company name. Nothing came up. No website, no business registration, no LinkedIn profiles of employees. Her heart started beating faster. This had to be a mistake. Marcus ran a legitimate company. He was on the cover of Forbes last year. He gave speeches at Stanford about ethical business practices. She looked down at her rounded belly, feeling their daughter kick. Tyler, their 2-year-old son, was napping in his room down the hall. This was her family, her life. Marcus wouldn't lie to her, would he? Emily took screenshots of the transactions, her hands shaking slightly. She wasn't accusing him of anything. She just wanted to understand. Marcus came home at 7, bringing the scent of expensive cologne and autumn air. He found Emily setting the table, Tyler already in his high chair, smashing peas with his tiny fists. "There's my beautiful family," Marcus said, sweeping in to kiss Emily's cheek. He was 39, tall and commanding, with silver threading through his dark hair in a way that made him look distinguished rather than old. People always said Emily was lucky to have caught his attention, Sometimes she wondered if she'd been caught at all, or if she'd been hunted. "How was your day?" Emily asked, keeping her voice light. "Exhausting. The board is breathing down my neck about Q3 projections." He loosened his tie, poured himself a scotch. "But I don't want to bore you with work talk." "Actually," Emily said carefully, "I wanted to ask you about something I found." Marcus paused, glass halfway to his lips. "Oh?" "I was updating the budget and I noticed some transactions I didn't understand. Wire transfers to an offshore consulting company? $47 million worth?" For just a second, something flickered across Marcus's face. Then he laughed, and the moment passed so quickly Emily wondered if she'd imagined it. "Em, you know I love you, but this is why you shouldn't be looking at company stuff." His voice was warm, indulgent, like he was talking to Tyler instead of his wife. "Those are perfectly legal tax structures, very complex international holdings. Nothing for you to worry your pretty head about." "But I studied data forensics at MIT, Emily said. "I understand complex structures. These accounts. You dropped out of MIT, remember?" Marcus's voice hadn't changed, still warm, still kind, but the words landed like stones. "Senior year, after your father died. You never finished your degree. And that's okay, baby. You had more important things to focus on. But it means you don't have the full picture of how corporate finance works. Let the grown-ups handle the business side. You just focus on growing our baby girl." He reached over and patted her stomach, and Emily felt something inside her shrink. "I just thought," she started, but Marcus was already standing, taking his scotch to the living room. "Dinner smells amazing," he called over his shoulder. "You're such a good wife, Em. I don't know what I'd do without you." Emily stood in the kitchen, Tyler babbling beside her, and felt the first hairline crack form in the foundation of her world. Sienna Chase arrived at the penthouse 3 nights later for what Marcus called a late-night strategy session. Emily was folding laundry in the bedroom when she heard the knock, heard Marcus's warm greeting, heard the click of expensive heels on the marble floor. "Emily," Marcus called, "come meet my new CFO." Sienna was everything Emily wasn't. Late 20s, Stanford MBA, sharp blazer over a silk blouse, blonde hair pulled back in a way that looked effortless, but probably took 30 minutes. When she smiled at Emily, it looked genuine. "Mrs. Webb, I've heard so much about you." Sienna's handshake was firm, her eye contact direct. "Marcus says you have a background in data forensics. That's so impressive." "I didn't finish," Emily said automatically, Marcus's words from 3 nights ago still echoing. "Still, MIT is MIT. That's incredible." Sienna turned to Marcus. "You should let Emily look at our Q3 projections. Fresh eyes could really help." Marcus laughed, already steering Sienna toward his office. "Emily's busy being a mom. She doesn't need the stress. Come on, we've got work to do." Sienna glanced back at Emily, and for just a second, something flickered in her expression. Then she smiled again. "Of course, you know best." Emily stood in the hallway, laundry basket balanced on her hip, and watched them disappear into Marcus's office. The door closed. The lock clicked. She stood there for a long moment listening to the muffled sound of their voices, their laughter. Something felt wrong. Something felt very, very wrong. But when she tried to identify what exactly was bothering her, she couldn't. Sienna had been nothing but nice. Marcus was just working. This was normal, wasn't it? Emily carried the laundry back to the bedroom and told herself she was being paranoid. Pregnancy hormones. Stress. Nothing more. She almost believed it. That night, after Marcus fell asleep, Emily did something she'd never done before. She took his laptop from his office, carried it to the bathroom, locked the door, and started digging. Her hands shook as she bypassed his password. She'd watched him type it 100 times. Tyler's birthday. Backwards. Not exactly high security. What she found made her stomach drop. Marcus wasn't just hiding money. He was siphoning funds from Web Technologies' research and development budget, millions of dollars redirected to dummy corporations he controlled. The offshore accounts weren't tax structures. They were theft. And there was more. Board meeting minutes showing Marcus lying to investors about profit margins. Emails discussing how to hide the shortfalls. This wasn't creative accounting. This was securities fraud, federal crime, prison time. Emily sat on the cold bathroom floor, the laptop screen casting her face in blue light, and felt her entire world tilt. The man sleeping in their bed, the father of her children, the billionaire everyone admired, was a criminal. And she was the only one who knew. She made it through the next 2 days in a phone, smiled when Marcus kissed her goodbye, played with Tyler, pretended everything was fine. But at night while Marcus slept, she worked. She took screenshots of everything, saved files to a cloud drive Marcus didn't know existed, built a case that could bring down his entire empire. On the third day, she called the one person she still trusted, her college roommate, Rachel Brennan, now a public defender in Chicago. Rachel, Emily whispered into the phone, locked in Tyler's closet while he napped. I need help. Rachel listened to everything, the offshore accounts, the fraud, the lies. Em, this is serious, Rachel said finally. You need to talk to the FBI. I have a contact, Agent Rebecca Stone, White Collar Crimes Division. She's good. She'll listen. Can you set up a meeting? Give me a day. I'll call you back. Emily hung up and allowed herself to breathe for the first time in 72 hours. 3 days from now, she'd walk into a cafe, hand over the evidence, and the FBI would handle the rest. She and Tyler would disappear into witness protection if necessary. They'd be safe. 3 days. Just 3 more days. That night, Emily used cash she'd been skimming from grocery money to book a hotel room. She packed a go bag, clothes for her and Tyler, important documents, a USB backup of all the evidence. She hid it in Tyler's closet, behind his toy boxes where Marcus would never think to look. For the first time in months, I could breathe, Emily thought, as she climbed into bed beside her husband. 3 days. Just 3 more days, and we'd be free. She fell asleep, believing in rescue. She woke to find the trap had already sprung. Emily woke to cold sheets. Marcus's side of the bed was empty, which was unusual. He always kissed her goodbye before leaving for work, always made a show of touching her stomach and whispering to their unborn daughter. The silence felt wrong. She got up slowly, her pregnant belly making everything awkward, and walked through the penthouse. Marcus's office door was open. His laptop was gone. Her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. The email was from Rebecca Stone. At least the sender said it was from Rebecca Stone. Mrs. Webb, I'm afraid we need to cancel our meeting. Your husband's attorneys have filed a federal restraining order against any FBI contact with you, citing spousal privilege and mental health concerns. My hands are tied for 90 days. I'm sorry. Emily read it 3 times. Her vision tunneled. Her ears rang. She called Rachel. The number went straight to a disconnected message. No, this couldn't be happening. She ran to the laptop, tried to log into the cloud drive. Access denied. Account not found. Tyler's closet, the go bag. Her hands shook as she pulled open the door, pushed aside toy boxes. Empty space, the bag was gone. Everything, the clothes, the documents, the USB drive with all the evidence. Emily made it to the bathroom before she vomited. She knelt on the cold tile, forehead pressed against the porcelain, and understood with perfect, terrible clarity. He knew, Marcus knew everything. And she had nothing. No proof, no evidence, no allies. She was completely, utterly alone. Marcus came home that evening carrying flowers. Tyler was in his arms, giggling. He looked like a magazine photo of perfect father. Baby, I heard you had a rough morning, he said, setting Tyler down and wrapping Emily in a one-armed hug. Pregnancy insomnia is the worst, isn't it? Emily stood rigid in his embrace. What did you do? Made your favorite dinner, chicken piccata, and I drew you a bath. You should relax. His voice was so warm, so concerned, like nothing had happened, like he didn't know, like she didn't know that he knew. The gaslighting was so smooth it took her breath away. Marcus? Oh, and I queued up that show you like. The British baking one. You always say it calms you down. He kissed her forehead. I worry about you, Em. You seem stressed lately. Is everything okay with the baby? This is what going insane feels like, Emily thought. This exact moment where reality and performance blur until you can't tell which is which. Everything's fine, she heard herself say. Good. Marcus squeezed her shoulder. That's my girl. Over the next week, Marcus was the perfect husband. Attentive, loving, concerned. He took her to doctor appointments. He rubbed her swollen feet. He read bedtime stories to Tyler in funny voices that made their son shriek with laughter. But small things changed. Tiny things. Things Emily might have missed if she wasn't looking for them. Her laptop was fixed and returned to her. But when she tried to access financial websites, they were blocked. Parental controls, the error message said. She hadn't set any parental controls. Her phone received a software update she didn't initiate. Suddenly, she couldn't download Signal or Proton Mail or any encrypted messaging app. The apps would install, then disappear. Over and over. She tried to call Rachel. The number was blocked. She couldn't unblock it. The weekly house cleaner, Maria, who Emily had known for 2 years, was suddenly on extended leave. A new cleaner arrived instead. Young man, late 20s, barely spoke. But Emily noticed he was always within earshot, always watching. The walls were closing in. Dr. Morrison had been Emily's obstetrician for both pregnancies. She was kind, thorough, professional. Emily trusted her. At the next appointment, Marcus came along. "How's our mom doing?" Dr. Morrison asked, checking Emily's blood pressure. "She's been having some paranoid thoughts," Marcus said before Emily could answer. "Is that normal, the anxiety?" Dr. Morrison's expression shifted slightly. Professional concern. "What kind of thoughts, Emily?" Emily opened her mouth. Marcus's hand found hers, squeezed. Not hard, just enough. "I'm fine," Emily said. "Just tired." "Prenatal anxiety is very common," Dr. Morrison said, but she was making notes in Emily's chart. Notes that would follow Emily forever. On the way out, Marcus's phone rang. He answered on speaker. "Hi, Mom," he said. Catherine Webb's voice filled the car. Refined, educated, distant. "Marcus, darling, how's Emily?" "She's right here, Mom." "Oh, good. Emily, dear, Marcus mentioned you've been having some difficulties. I do hope you're taking care of yourself." "I'm worried about her," Marcus said, like Emily wasn't sitting right there. "She's been accusing me of crazy things. I think it might be prenatal depression." "Should I talk to her doctor?" "Definitely," Catherine said. "Mental health is so important, especially for mothers." Emily stared out the window and said nothing. What was there to say? They had already written the narrative. Unstable wife, concerned husband. Everyone would believe him. They already did. Tyler's nanny, Jennifer, got a new instruction. "If Emily seems off, just text me right away, okay?" Marcus told her. Emily overheard from the hallway. "Of course, Mr. Webb. Is everything all right?" "She's just going through a lot with the pregnancy. I want to make sure she's never alone if she's having an episode." An episode. Like Emily was having psychotic breaks instead of uncovering her husband's crimes. Jennifer looked at Emily differently after that. Careful. Wary. Like Emily might shatter at any moment. Everyone was watching her now. The new cleaner, the nanny, even their doorman started asking if she needed help getting to the elevator, his tone just slightly too concerned. Marcus had poisoned every well, and he'd done it so subtly, so carefully, that no one would ever believe it was deliberate. One night, Emily was nursing Tyler in his room. The baby monitor sat on the shelf, its green light glowing. She'd forgotten it was a two-way monitor, forgotten that sound traveled both directions. Marcus and Sienna were in the living room. Emily heard their voices through the speaker, crystal clear. "She's not as stupid as you thought," Sienna said. "She found the offshore accounts." Handled. Marcus's voice was flat, businesslike. Nothing like the warm tone he used with Emily. "Agent Stone's been reassigned to a field office in Alaska. The roommate got a visit from my private investigator." Scared her straight. Emily has no evidence and no allies left. "What about after the baby's born?" "The prenup is airtight. I get full custody if she's deemed unfit. Dr. Rosen owes me money. He'll write whatever psychiatric evaluation I need." "And if she fights?" Marcus laughed. Actually laughed. "Then we move to Plan B. The facility in Sonoma is very discreet. She'll get the help she needs. 6 months of intensive therapy. By the time she gets out, everyone will understand she's unstable. The kids will be better off with me." Sienna's laugh joined his. "God, you're ruthless. I love it." Emily sat frozen in the rocking chair, Tyler asleep in her arms, and felt the last piece of her old life crumble into dust. They were planning to institutionalize her. They were going to take her children. And there was nothing, absolutely nothing, she could do to stop it. For 3 days, Emily barely moved. She went through the motions, fed Tyler, smiled when Marcus kissed her, counted the hours. On the fourth day, she remembered something. Her father's life insurance money, $50,000 sitting in an old bank account from before she married Marcus. He'd never asked about it, never even knew it existed. It wasn't much, but it was hers. She took the bus to a Target 3 neighborhoods away, paid cash for a burner phone, called a divorce attorney whose ad she'd seen on a bus stop. Moreno and Associates, this is Patricia. My name is Emily Webb, Emily said quietly, and I need help. Patricia Moreno listened, really listened. And when Emily finished, she said, with what you're telling me, we can get an emergency custody order, but I need proof of the institutionalization plan. I can get it, then get it, fast, before he moves first. Emily became an actress, the performance of her life. She stopped asking questions, stopped showing fear. She smiled at Marcus. She let him touch her stomach. She played the perfect wife he wanted her to be. And Marcus, believing he'd won, relaxed. 3 nights later, he came home drunk from a board dinner. Expensive scotch on his breath, tie loosened, guard down. Emily helped him to bed, kissed his cheek, waited for his breathing to slow. Then she went to his briefcase. The papers were right there. Psychiatric evaluation forms, already filled out and backdated. Dr. Rosen's signature at the bottom. Patient exhibits signs of postpartum psychosis, paranoid delusions, and poses a risk to herself and her infant. There was a brochure tucked behind the forms. Clearwater Hills, a private psychiatric hospital in Sonoma. 5-star accommodations for patients whose families could afford to make their problems disappear. Emily photographed everything with the burner phone. Her hands didn't shake anymore. She was past fear now. She was in survival mode. Patricia Moreno filed the emergency motion on a Friday. By Monday afternoon, Emily had a temporary restraining order. Marcus was served the papers at his office in front of his entire staff. By Monday night, Emily and Tyler were in a domestic violence shelter, location undisclosed. For 36 hours, Emily believed she'd won. Then her water broke. The ambulance rushed her to the hospital. Too early. 8 months exactly. The baby was coming, whether anyone was ready or not. Labor was fast and brutal. Emily screamed for Tyler, but he was back at the shelter with a social worker. She was alone, terrified, her body tearing itself apart to bring new life into the world. At 11:43 p.m., Lily Davis Webb was born, 5 pounds, 4 ounces. Small but healthy. The NICU nurses whisked her away immediately. Emily caught only a glimpse. Dark hair, red face, tiny fists waving. Then Patricia Moreno appeared in the recovery room, and Emily knew from her face that something was wrong. I'm so sorry, Emily. The restraining order had been overturned. Marcus's legal team presented evidence that Emily had stolen confidential psychiatric documents. A felony. The burner phone? Marcus's private investigator found the receipt. They claimed Emily was planning to flee the state with Tyler. Parental kidnapping. The judge reversed custody to Catherine Webb, Marcus's mother, pending a full hearing. His mother has Tyler, Patricia said quietly. You can't see him until the hearing, and Marcus has temporary custody of Lily through Catherine. Emily lay in the hospital bed, her body still bleeding, her arms empty, and understood that she just lost everything. Both her children. Gone. This was the moment most people break, she thought. This is where you give up. But somewhere deep inside, in a place Marcus hadn't touched, couldn't touch, something hardened instead of breaking. Not yet, it whispered. You're not done yet. Emily was allowed to see Lily for 1 hour a day, supervised. A hospital social worker sat in the corner of the NICU room, taking notes every time Emily touched her daughter's tiny hand through the incubator openings. You're doing great, Mom, the nurse said, but her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. Everyone had read the reports. Unstable mother, history of paranoid delusions. The Whisper campaign had worked. Tyler was in Napa Valley at Catherine Webb's estate. Emily wasn't allowed to call, wasn't allowed to visit. The court order was clear. No contact pending the full custody hearing, scheduled for 6 weeks from now. 6 weeks. 42 days. 1,008 hours without her son. Emily counted every single one. On day 3, Marcus came to visit. He arrived with photographers. Not paparazzi, his own people, carefully selected. They caught him walking into the hospital, carrying an enormous teddy bear. They caught him washing his hands at the NICU sink, face solemn with concern. They caught him gazing through the glass at Lily, one hand pressed to the window. The caption on Instagram, "Praying for my girls, hardest week of my life." 10,000 likes in the first hour. Marcus waited until the photographers left. Then he came into Emily's room. She was sitting up in bed, still sore from delivery, her breasts heavy with milk she couldn't feed to her daughter. "Emily." He sat in the chair beside her bed, close enough to touch. "This is hard on both of us." She said nothing. "I know you're scared. I know you think I'm the enemy, but I'm not." His voice was so gentle, so reasonable. "You're sick, baby. Postpartum psychosis. It's a real thing. It's not your fault." "I'm not sick. The doctors say otherwise." He pulled out a folder. More paperwork. More diagnoses she'd never been given by doctors she'd never seen. "This could all stop. Right now, today, you just need to do one thing." He laid out the post-nuptial agreement. New terms, far worse than the original prenup. He'd get full custody. She'd get supervised visits. He'd control all assets. She'd receive an allowance, monitored monthly for appropriate spending. "Sign this," Marcus said. "Drop the accusations. Admit you were having a mental health crisis. We'll put out a statement. Tech CEO and wife reconcile after pregnancy complications. Everyone moves on. You get to keep Tyler. We'll be a family again." Emily looked at the papers, at her husband's earnest face, at the life he was offering her, small and controlled and safe as long as she never, ever stepped out of line again. Maybe there was a version of Emily from a month ago who would have signed, who would have believed she'd imagined everything, who would have been grateful for this mercy, that Emily was gone. "No," she said. Marcus's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. "Think about Tyler. Think about what's best for him." "I am." "Emily, get out." He stood slowly. "This is your last chance. Get out of my room." He left, but not before whispering, just loud enough for the social worker in the corner to hear. "I'll pray for you. Baby, I'll pray you get the help you need." The social worker made a note. The media storm started that afternoon. Marcus's PR team had been busy. Tech CEO's wife suffers mental health crisis after birth. Marcus Webb pleads for privacy as family. Faces postpartum psychosis. Sources Emily Webb. Accused husband of fraud. Before psychiatric break, TechCrunch ran an exclusive interview. Marcus, looking haggard and heartbroken, discussed the importance of mental health awareness. How he'd noticed Emily's paranoia escalating during pregnancy. How he'd tried to get her help, but she'd refused. How he just wanted his wife back, healthy and whole. "I don't blame her," he said, voice cracking perfectly. "She's sick, and I'm going to stand by her, no matter what it takes." 50,000 shares in 3 hours. The comments were split. Half sympathized with Marcus, praising his devotion. Half questioned the timing, the narrative that was just a little too perfect. But the damage was done. Emily's credibility was shattered before she even had a chance to speak. On day 7, the hospital discharged Lily into Marcus's custody, technically Catherine's custody, since she was the court-appointed guardian. But everyone knew Marcus was making the decisions. Emily held her daughter one last time. 7 pounds now, getting stronger. Dark eyes that seemed to see everything. "I'm coming for you," Emily whispered. "Both of you. I promise." Then a social worker lifted Lily from her arms, and Emily's body went hollow. She was discharged that afternoon to a court-mandated transitional living facility. In reality, it was a group home for women in crisis. Shared bedrooms, communal bathrooms, curfew at 9 p.m., no visitors without prior approval. Emily had lost her penthouse, her children, her freedom. She was facing felony charges for stealing those psychiatric documents. All her bank accounts were frozen pending the legal proceedings. She owned nothing. She had nothing. She was nothing. Most women in her position would break here. The system was designed for breaking. It crushed you down until accepting any crumb of mercy seemed like salvation. But Emily had learned something in the past weeks. Something important. The moment you accepted the cage was the moment you'd never escape it. On her second night in the group home, Emily sat on the concrete floor of the bathroom, the only place with any privacy, and allowed herself 5 minutes to cry. 5 minutes to mourn everything she'd lost. Then she wiped her face, stood up, and started planning. The text came on day 12, unknown number. Museum Gala, Saturday night. Marcus receiving philanthropy award. Be there, wear something that shows your arm scars. Minus a friend. Emily stared at the message for 10 minutes. It could be a trap. It probably was a trap. But what did she have left to lose? She texted back, "Who is this?" No response. She tried calling the number. Disconnected. The gala was in 4 days. The San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. She looked it up online. Black tie event. Tickets started at $5,000. She had $17 to her name. Her court-appointed social worker, Linda Martinez, was tired. Early 50s, too many cases, not enough resources. But she wasn't cruel. And when Emily asked if she could attend a public event as part of her supervised integration back into society, Linda sighed and said yes. "It's a museum gala," Emily said. "Very public, lots of witnesses. I'll be with you the entire time." "Why would you want to go somewhere your husband will be?" "Because I need to show people I'm not hiding. I'm not ashamed, I'm not crazy." Linda studied her. "You sure about this?" "No, but I'm doing it anyway." Linda made a note in her file. "All right, but we leave at the first sign of trouble." Emily had one dress that still fit her post-pregnancy body. Simple black jersey, nothing fancy. She'd worn it to her father's funeral 6 years ago. Now she'd wear it to face her husband. She didn't try to hide the scars on her arms. 3 faint lines from where Marcus had grabbed her back when she was 5 months pregnant. She'd fallen, he'd told the doctor. Clumsy pregnancy waddle. The doctor had believed him. Everyone always believed Marcus. Saturday night, Linda drove them to the museum. Emily carried Lily. She'd been granted a supervised 4-hour visit for the evening, which Linda would supervise. The baby was asleep, bundled in a donated blanket from the shelter. "Last chance to back out," Linda said. Emily stepped out of the car. The museum was luminous. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors, women in gowns that cost more than Emily's entire old life. She walked through the entrance in her funeral dress, her daughter in her arms, and felt every head turn. Then she saw him. Marcus stood at the center of the main gallery, surrounded by admirers. Tuxedo perfectly tailored, silver at his temples, catching the light. He was laughing at something someone said, playing the role of gracious honoree. He saw her. The laugh died. For just a second, pure rage crossed his face. Then his mask slipped back into place and he smiled. Emily smiled back. Let the final act begin. The museum hummed with champagne conversation and the click of expensive heels on marble. Emily stood at the edge of the crowd, Linda beside her, Lily asleep against her shoulder. Every survival instinct screamed at her to run. Instead, she walked deeper into the gallery. People were staring. She heard the whispers, saw the phones being discreetly angled her direction. That's her. That's Marcus Webb's wife, the one who went crazy after giving birth. Poor thing. Poor him. Marcus worked the room like the politician he'd always wanted to be, shaking hands, kissing cheeks, accepting congratulations for his Humanitarian of the Year award. But Emily saw the tension in his shoulders, the way his eyes kept tracking her movement. She was the chaos he couldn't control, the variable that didn't fit his perfect narrative. Good. Across the gallery, someone else was watching. Michael Torres had been investigating web technologies for 8 months. He was a freelance journalist, the kind who specialized in stories the mainstream outlets were too scared to touch. A former employee had tipped him off about financial irregularities. The deeper he dug, the worse it got, but he'd never been able to prove anything. Marcus Webb was too careful, too protected. Every lead dried up, every witness recanted, every document disappeared. Then 3 days ago, Michael got an anonymous email with a single attachment, a photograph of psychiatric commitment papers, clearly backdated, clearly fraudulent. The email's message was brief. He's going to do it again. Museum Gala, Saturday. Watch. Now Michael stood in the Van Gogh wing, professional camera hidden in his laptop bag, and watched Marcus Webb circle his wife like a predator deciding when to strike. Something was going to happen tonight. Michael could feel it. He checked his camera's memory card. Fully charged. 4 hours of recording capacity. He hit record and waited. Sienna Chase arrived fashionably late, wearing red silk that cost more than most people's monthly rent. She found Marcus near the bar, his smile brittle. She came, Marcus said quietly. I can see that. Sienna plucked a champagne flute from a passing tray. Want me to have security remove her? Too public. It'll look bad. He drained his scotch. Why is she here? What's she playing at? Does it matter? She looks pathetic. Everyone's already talking about it. This just reinforces the narrative. Unstable wife, can't let go. But Marcus wasn't convinced. Emily was doing something, standing there in her cheap dress with their baby, making a statement he couldn't quite read. It made him nervous, and Marcus hated being nervous. The program began at 8. A museum curator welcomed everyone, thanked the donors, introduced the evening's honoree. Marcus Webb, tech visionary, philanthropist, devoted father. Applause rippled through the crowd. Marcus took the stage. His speech was perfect. Humble, inspiring, touching. He talked about giving back, about responsibility, about how success meant nothing if you didn't help others. Emily watched from the back and felt sick. Then Marcus said, I want to dedicate this award to my family, to my mother, Catherine Webb, who taught me everything about integrity and grace. Catherine, seated in the front row, nodded elegantly. To my son, Tyler, who reminds me every day what matters most. More applause. Someone said, aw. And to my daughters, Lily and Emily, this has been a difficult time for our family, but I believe in the power of love and healing. I believe we'll come through this stronger. He looked directly at Emily when he said it. The audience followed his gaze. 300 people staring at her, seeing what Marcus wanted them to see. Broken wife, mental illness, tragic situation. Emily held Lily closer and didn't look away. The speech ended. The applause was thunderous. Marcus descended from the stage, immediately swallowed by well-wishers. But Sienna cut through the crowd toward him, moving with purpose. She leaned in close, whispered in his ear. Whatever she said made Marcus's face go white, then red. He looked across the gallery at Emily, at the phone in her hand. Sienna whispered again. Marcus's jaw clenched. Then he started walking, not toward the crowd, toward the east wing of the museum, toward the private galleries, toward where Emily had gone. The Van Gogh wing was quieter, a few couples admiring Starry Night, but mostly empty. Emily had come here because she needed space to breathe, needed to feed Lily away from the crowds. There was a small room off the main gallery, private nursing space, the museum provided for mothers. Soft lighting, comfortable chairs, a lock on the door. Emily settled into the leather armchair, adjusted her dress, let Lily latch on. The baby's tiny hand curled around her finger. For just a moment, the world narrowed to this. Mother and child, safe. Then the door opened. Marcus stood in the doorway. His face was a mask of controlled rage. Get out, Emily said. I'm feeding her. Give me your phone, Schroeders. His voice was flat, dead. This was Marcus without the mask, and Emily had forgotten how terrifying that was. No, Emily, don't do this. Not here. People are watching. That's exactly why I'm doing it here. She stood carefully, clutching Lily with one arm, phone in her other hand. You can't hurt me with 300 witnesses outside that door. You have no idea what you're doing. Marcus took a step closer. What you're risking. I know exactly what I'm doing. Give me the phone. No. He lunged. Emily turned, instinct overriding thought. Protecting Lily. The phone was in her left hand, held out away from the baby. Marcus grabbed her wrist, twisted. Let go, Emily gasped. You're going to ruin everything. He twisted harder. The bone was grinding. Everything I built, everything I worked for, because you couldn't stay in your place. Stop. You're hurting. The sound was like a branch snapping. Clean, sharp, unmistakable. Emily's scream cut through the soundproofed room. Lily shrieked. Marcus stood over her, breathing hard, his hand still gripping Emily's wrist. Her arm bent at an angle that wasn't natural, wasn't right, wasn't possible. "No one will believe you," Marcus said. His voice was almost calm now, reasonable, like he was explaining something to a child. "You're unstable. This is your fault. You provoked me. You attacked me first." Emily collapsed to her knees, clutching Lily with her right arm. Her left arm hung useless. Wrong. The pain was everything, white hot and absolute. "You did this to yourself," Marcus said. Then the door burst open. The museum security guard heard the screams. So did half the people in the main gallery. They came running. The guard hit the door. The lock splintered. He rushed in, saw Emily on the floor, the baby screaming, Marcus standing over them. "Sir, step back. Step back now." But Marcus didn't move. Couldn't move. He was staring at this doorway where more people were flooding in. Phones out, cameras rolling. Michael Torres pushed to the front, his professional camera capturing every frame. Marcus with his hands still extended. Emily on the floor, arm clearly broken. The baby's face red with terror. The crowd kept coming, filling the small room, the hallway, voices rising. Then the crowd parted. A woman walked through. 62 years old, silver gown, elegant as a queen. Every head turned, even Marcus's. Catherine Webb had arrived. "Get away from her," Catherine said. Her voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Marcus turned, and for the first time in his life, he looked small. "Mom, this isn't what it looks like. She attacked me. I was defending." "Shut up, Marcus." Catherine knelt beside Emily, touched her face gently. "Can you hear me, dear?" Emily nodded, tears streaming. "How bad is the pain?" "Bad." Emily's voice was barely a whisper. Catherine stood, turned to the crowd. "I'm Catherine Webb. I'm on the museum board. I also own 65% of Webb Technologies, a fact my son seems to have forgotten." Marcus's face drained of color. "Everyone with a phone, please keep recording," Catherine continued. "I want witnesses, legal witnesses, to what my son just did." "Mother, you don't understand. I understand that I just watched you lock a door, pursue your wife while she was holding your infant daughter, and deliberately break her arm." The room was silent except for Lily's cries. "Call 911, Catherine said to security, "and call the police, real police, not private security. I'll be pressing charges on Mrs. Webb's behalf." "Mom, please." "I said shut up, Marcus." Catherine's voice was like ice. "I'm done protecting you. I'm done pretending you're the man I wanted you to be. Your father hit me for 23 years. I stayed quiet because I was afraid. But I won't watch you destroy this woman the way he destroyed me." The phones kept recording. The footage was already uploading, spreading, going viral in real time. Marcus Webb, tech billionaire, humanitarian of the year, caught on camera standing over his pregnant wife after breaking her arm. No amount of PR could spin this. The ambulance arrived within minutes. Paramedics carefully lifted Emily onto a stretcher. Someone took Lily, another social worker, called to the scene. Emily reached for her daughter with her good arm. "I'll bring her to the hospital," Linda promised. "I swear, you'll see her there." Catherine rode in the ambulance, holding Emily's good hand. "Why are you helping me?" Emily whispered. "You're his mother." "I'm also a woman who knows what it's like to be trapped," Catherine said. "And I'm done watching women suffer in silence." Behind them, police officers handcuffed Marcus Webb, read him his rights, walked him through the museum lobby in front of everyone who'd come to honor him. Cameras flashed. The footage would play on every news channel by midnight. Sam, justice. Emily started trending before they reached the hospital. The emergency room was controlled chaos. Doctors, nurses, questions Emily couldn't focus on. Her arm was screaming. They gave her something for the pain, but it just made the edges fuzzy without making it stop. Catherine stayed. She stood against the wall while they x-rayed Emily's arm, while they reset the bone, while Emily bit down on a folded towel to keep from screaming. When it was over, Emily's arm was encased in fiberglass from wrist to elbow, the bone fractured in 2 places. You'll need surgery eventually, the orthopedic surgeon said, to put in pins, but not until after the swelling goes down. 3 to 4 weeks, Emily nodded. She'd stopped listening around surgery. Linda arrived with Lily. The baby was still upset, red-faced and fussing. Emily took her with her good arm, held her close, whispered nonsense words until they both calmed. The police want a statement, Linda said quietly. Whenever you're ready. I'm ready now. Detective Sarah Coleman was mid-40s, sharp-eyed, patient. She'd seen this story before. Powerful man, vulnerable woman, violence that escalated until it exploded publicly. What made this one different was the cameras, the witnesses, the mother-in-law turning on her own son. Tell me what happened tonight, Detective Coleman said. In your own words. Emily told her, all of it. Not just tonight, but everything. The financial fraud she'd discovered, the gaslighting, the plan to institutionalize her, the fake psychiatric evaluations, the stolen evidence, the isolation. I have proof, Emily said. I took pictures. They were on my phone, but Marcus took it. We have your phone, Detective Coleman said. Marcus Webb attempted to destroy it after his arrest, threw it against a wall, but our tech team can recover deleted files. Emily felt something in her chest unclench. So you believe me? Mrs. Webb, I have 47 people's video footage showing your husband breaking your arm. I have witnesses who heard him threaten you. I have security footage of him locking that door. Whether I believe you is irrelevant. The evidence speaks for itself. But he's rich. He has lawyers. He does. And those lawyers are going to have a very hard time explaining away what happened tonight. Detective Coleman leaned forward. We're also going to investigate everything you told me about the financial fraud and the institutional commitment plan. If what you're saying is true, Marcus Webb is facing federal charges on top of the assault. Emily started crying. Not from pain this time, from relief. You're safe now, Detective Coleman said. I promise you he's not getting near you again. Marcus Webb sat in a holding cell downtown, still in his tuxedo. His lawyer, Richard Hastings, looked grim. This is bad, Marcus. It was an accident. She provoked. There's video, 47 different angles. You locked the door. You pursued her. You broke her arm while she was holding your baby. Richard rubbed his eyes. I can't spin this. No one can. Then get me out on bail. I'll leave the country, somewhere without extradition. If you run, you'll look guilty. I am guilty. Marcus slammed his fist against the wall, then quieter. I mean, technically, but she pushed me to it. She was going to ruin everything. Did you embezzle from your own company? Silence. Marcus, did you embezzle from your own company? It's not embezzling if it's my company. Richard stood. I'm going to recommend you take a plea deal, because if this goes to trial, you're going to lose. And you're going to lose everything. By midnight, the story had gone global. Every major news outlet was running it. The video was inescapable. Tech billionaire arrested for assault after breaking wife's arm at charity gala caught on camera. Marcus Webb's violent attack during humanitarian award ceremony. Mother turns on. Son, Catherine Webb presses charges against her own child. The comment sections were vicious. People who'd defended Marcus hours earlier were now calling for his head. His company's stock dropped 18% in after-hours trading. 3 board members released statements distancing themselves from him. Emily watched the news from her hospital bed, Lily asleep beside her. It felt surreal, like watching someone else's life explode. Linda sat in the corner quietly eating vending machine crackers. You should rest, she said. Can't. Every time I close my eyes, I see it happening again. PTSD, very common in trauma cases. The hospital has counselors. I don't want to talk about my feelings. I want to know my children are safe. A knock on the door. Catherine entered, looking exhausted. Tyler's at my house, she said without preamble. With a nanny I trust. He's asking for you. I told him you had a little accident. You're getting better. You'll see him very soon. Thank you. Catherine sat in the other chair. I owe you an apology. I knew Marcus was like his father. I knew what he was capable of. And I told myself you were strong enough to handle it, that it wasn't my responsibility. Why did you come tonight? I got a text, anonymous number. It said Marcus was going to hurt you, that if I wanted to stop the cycle, I needed to be there. Catherine pulled out her phone, showed Emily the message. I almost didn't come. Then I thought about all the times I wish someone had come for me. So I did. Who sent it? I don't know, but whoever it was saved your life. Marcus made bail the next afternoon. $5 million posted by friends who still believed his version of events. But the conditions were strict. No contact with Emily or the children. GPS monitoring. Surrender of passport. His lawyer held a press conference on the courthouse steps. Mr. Webb deeply regrets the events of last night. He was defending himself against his wife's erratic behavior. The video doesn't show what happened before, a reporter interrupted. The video shows him locking the door and pursuing her. My client was trying to have a private conversation with his wife. By breaking her arm? Richard Hastings had no answer for that. 3 days later, Emily was released from the hospital. Not back to the group home. Catherine arranged for her to stay in a secure apartment, paid for, guards posted. Tyler was brought to her there. Her son, her baby boy, who she hadn't seen in weeks. Mama! He ran to her, and Emily caught him with her good arm, buried her face in his hair and sobbed. I missed you so much, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Why are you crying, Mama? Because I'm happy. These are happy tears. Tyler wiped her face with his tiny hands. All better? Almost. Getting there. That night, with both her children sleeping safely beside her, Emily let herself believe it might be true. But the fight wasn't over yet. The weeks that followed were a blur of depositions, court hearings, and legal strategy sessions. Patricia Moreno, the attorney Emily had hired with her father's insurance money, was joined by a team from a major firm who took the case pro bono. The publicity was too big, the story too compelling. Everyone wanted to be part of bringing down Marcus Webb. But Marcus wasn't going quietly. His legal team filed counter motions. They claimed Emily had provoked the attack. They brought in expert witnesses who testified about postpartum psychosis, painting Emily as unstable and dangerous. They dredged up every moment of her grief after her father died, every tearful night, every time she'd struggled with depression. They're going to make you look crazy, Patricia warned. That's their only play now. They can't deny the video, so they're going to argue you drove him to it. Will it work? Not if we're smart. The criminal trial was set for 3 months out. In the meantime, there was the custody hearing. Marcus was fighting for his right to see his children. His lawyers argued that one moment of violence didn't negate years of good fatherhood. Emily's lawyers argued that any father who would break his wife's arm in front of their baby shouldn't have unsupervised access to any child. The judge ordered a full custody evaluation. Psychologists would interview both parents, observe their interactions with the children, review all available evidence. The evaluator was Dr. Helen Fisher, a stern woman in her 60s who'd seen every custody trick in the book. She met with Emily first, watched her play with Tyler and Lily, asked about her childhood, her marriage, her breaking point. Why didn't you leave sooner? Dr. Fisher asked. Emily had been asked this question 100 times by now, by lawyers, by police, by well-meaning friends. The answer was complicated because I loved him, because I was afraid, because he made me doubt reality itself. But what she said was, because I thought I could fix it. I thought if I was good enough, patient enough, perfect enough, he'd go back to being the man I married. It took me too long to realize that man never existed. Dr. Fisher made notes. Do you think Marcus Webb is a danger to his children? Yes. Because he's a danger to anyone he can't control. Dr. Fisher met with Marcus the following week. He arrived perfectly groomed, perfectly prepared. He talked about his children with tears in his eyes. How much he missed Tyler. How he'd do anything to make this right. I made a terrible mistake, he said. I was under so much stress. The company, the accusations, watching my wife spiral into mental illness. I snapped. It was wrong, I know that. But I'm getting help. Anger management therapy. I'm committed to being better. Do you believe your wife is mentally ill? Dr. Fisher asked. I think she needed help that I couldn't give her. I think the pregnancy hormones exacerbated underlying issues. But I don't blame her. I love her. I want our family back together. Dr. Fisher made more notes, showed no emotion. When the session ended, Marcus felt confident. He'd played his part perfectly. But Dr. Fisher had been doing this for 30 years. She knew the difference between genuine remorse and a performance. The media circus never stopped. Emily couldn't leave the apartment without being swarmed by reporters. Some sympathetic, asking how she was healing. Others hostile, screaming questions about why she'd stayed so long, what she'd done to provoke Marcus, whether this was all for attention. Patricia released a statement on Emily's behalf. Brief, dignified, no details. Mrs. Webb is focused on healing and protecting her children. She looks forward to the truth being heard in court. Meanwhile, Marcus gave interviews to TechCrunch, to Bloomberg, to anyone who would listen. He was sorry. He was getting help. He was the real victim here, driven to breaking by a woman who'd falsely accused him of crimes he didn't commit. Some people believed him. His supporters were vocal, aggressive. They doxed Emily's location, forced her to move twice. They sent death threats, called her a gold digger, claimed she'd orchestrated the whole thing for money. Emily deleted her social media accounts, stopped reading the news, focused on the only thing she could control, her children, her healing, her testimony. 6 weeks after the museum incident, the preliminary custody hearing took place. The courtroom was packed, reporters, supporters from both sides, curious onlookers. Emily sat at the plaintiff's table in a simple navy dress, her arms still in a costume. Marcus sat across the aisle, looking humbled and remorseful. The judge was Honorable Margaret Thornton, a no-nonsense jurist with a reputation for protecting children above all else. Dr. Fisher took the stand first, presented her findings, recommended that Marcus Webb be granted only supervised visitation pending the outcome of the criminal trial. Emily was deemed fit and capable. Tyler and Lily should remain in her primary custody. Marcus's lawyer objected, argued that Dr. Fisher was biased, presented their own expert who claimed Marcus posed no danger to his children. Judge Thornton listened to both sides. Then she made her ruling. Mr. Webb, I've reviewed the evidence. I've watched the video from the museum. And while I appreciate that you're seeking help, I cannot ignore what I saw. You broke your wife's arm while she was holding your newborn daughter. That demonstrates a level of impulse control that concerns me deeply. Marcus started to stand. His lawyer pulled him back down. Custody of Tyler and Lily Webb will remain with their mother, Emily Davis Webb. Mr. Webb will be granted supervised visitation, 2 hours per week, at a location to be determined by the court. This arrangement will be reviewed after the criminal trial. The gavel came down. Emily exhaled for what felt like the first time in weeks, but the real fight was still coming. The criminal trial for assault and the federal charges for financial fraud. Both were set to proceed simultaneously. Marcus's lawyers tried everything. They filed motions to suppress evidence. They claimed the video was edited. They brought in tech experts to testify about deepfakes and digital manipulation. Nothing worked. The evidence was overwhelming. Then they tried a different approach. They subpoenaed Catherine Webb. As Marcus's mother and a major shareholder in Webb Technologies, her testimony could be crucial. The defense wanted her to testify about Emily's mental state, about Marcus's character, about the pressures he'd been under. The prosecution wanted her to testify about what she'd witnessed at the museum, about Marcus's history of violence, about the company's financial irregularities she'd discovered. Catherine had to choose, her son or the truth. The night before her testimony, she called Emily. "I need you to know something," Catherine said. "Whatever happens tomorrow, whatever I say on that stand, I'm doing what I believe is right. But that doesn't mean it won't hurt, for all of us." "I understand." "Do you? Because I'm about to betray my son in front of the entire world. And even though he deserves it, even though he's done terrible things, he's still my child. Some part of me will always love him." Emily thought about Tyler, about what she'd do if he grew up to be like Marcus. Would she have the strength to stand against him, to choose justice over loyalty? "I understand," she said again, and this time she meant it. The next morning, Catherine Webb took the stand. She wore gray, not quite mourning, not quite neutral. The courtroom fell silent. The prosecutor stood. Mrs. Webb, can you describe what you witnessed on the night of November 15th at the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art? Catherine's voice was steady. I saw my son lock a door. I saw him pursue his wife while she was holding their infant daughter. And I saw him deliberately break her arm. You're certain it was deliberate? Completely certain. I've seen that look before, on my late husband's face, right before he would hit me. The courtroom erupted. Judge Thornton's gavel cracked down. Order! The defense attorney jumped up for cross-examination. Mrs. Webb, isn't it true that you and your son have had a strained relationship for years? We have. And isn't it true that you've been secretly investigating him for financial fraud? I have. So you have every reason to want him found guilty. Catherine looked at Marcus, held his gaze. I have every reason to want the truth told. If that means my son goes to prison, then so be it. Marcus's face crumbled. For the first time, the mask fell away completely. He looked like what he was, a man who'd lost everything. But Catherine wasn't done. I need to enter additional evidence, she told the judge. Financial records proving my son embezzled $47 million from Webb Technologies. Records I've been compiling for the past 8 weeks. The prosecutor looked stunned. Your Honor, we weren't aware. I couldn't turn them over before, Catherine said. I needed to be called as a witness first, to protect myself from any claims of conspiracy against Marcus. But now I'm under oath, and these documents are real. She handed a thick folder to the bailiff. The judge reviewed them, her expression darkening. This changes everything, Judge Thornton said. The trial recessed for 3 days while prosecutors reviewed Catherine's evidence. When it reconvened, they added new charges: embezzlement, wire fraud, money laundering, securities fraud. Marcus's lawyers tried to negotiate a plea deal, 10 years eligible for parole and 6. The prosecutors countered: 12 years, no parole, full restitution to Webb Technologies, permanent ban from serving as a corporate officer. Marcus refused. I'm not taking a deal. We're going to trial. His lawyers looked at each other. They knew he couldn't win, but it was his choice. The trial took 4 weeks. Emily testified for 2 days. She told her story calmly, methodically. The financial fraud she'd discovered, the gaslighting, the fake psychiatric evaluations, the plan to institutionalize her. Marcus's lawyers tore into her, questioned her memory, suggested she was exaggerating, implied she was mentally unstable. But then they played the museum video, all 47 angles, the entire 4-minute sequence, from Marcus locking the door to Catherine walking in. You couldn't watch that video and believe anything Marcus had said. The jury deliberated for 6 hours, guilty in all counts. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. Emily was there, sitting in the front row. So was Catherine. Marcus stood before the judge in prison orange, his shoulders bowed. Mr. Webb, Judge Thornton said, you had every advantage in life: wealth, education, opportunity. You chose to use those advantages to hurt people. You stole from your company. You gaslit and abused your wife. You broke her arm while she held your child. These are not the actions of someone who made a mistake. These are the actions of someone who believed he was above consequences. She paused, let that sink in. I'm sentencing you to 8 years in federal prison for financial crimes and 4 years for assault. You will serve these consecutively, 12 years total. You will also pay full restitution to Webb Technologies and its shareholders, and you will never be allowed to serve as a corporate officer again. The gavel came down. Marcus turned, looked at his mother. Catherine met his eyes but didn't look away. I'm sorry, she mouthed. He turned away from her, and as the bailiffs led him out of the courtroom, Emily felt the weight of 4 years lift off her shoulders. It was over. She was free. 6 months after the trial, Emily stood in the doorway of a small apartment in Oakland. Not a mansion, not a penthouse, just a 2-bedroom with decent light and a park view. Tyler's toys were scattered across the living room floor. Lily was napping in her crib. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. Catherine visited every Sunday. Their relationship was complicated. Emily was grateful, but also angry. Why didn't you help sooner? Why did you let it get so far? They'd had that conversation more than once. It never quite resolved. Some things couldn't be resolved, only acknowledged and lived with. Today, Catherine brought groceries. I know you're proud, she said, unpacking organic vegetables Emily couldn't afford on her own. But let me help, for the kids. Thank you, Emily said, because pride was a luxury she couldn't afford either. Tyler ran in, grabbed Catherine's leg. Grandma, I drawed you a picture. He pulled her toward the kitchen table where his masterpiece waited. Catherine admired it seriously, pointing out specific details. Is this a dinosaur? It's Daddy, Tyler said. The room went quiet. He's far away, Tyler continued, coloring. But Grandma says he still loves me. Emily looked at Catherine. Catherine looked back, defensive but not apologetic. He's Marcus's son, Catherine said quietly. I can't pretend Marcus doesn't exist. That's not fair to Tyler. Marcus broke my arm in front of our baby. I know, and I testified against him. And I'll never forgive him for that. But I'm allowed to grieve the son I thought I raised. Just like Tyler is allowed to love his father, even though his father did terrible things. It was uncomfortable, messy. There were no easy answers, no neat resolutions. Family was complicated, abuse was complicated, recovery was complicated. I hate that you're right, Emily said finally. I hate it too. Emily had gone back to school, online classes at MIT, finally finishing her degree, data forensics, just like she'd always planned. It was hard, balancing schoolwork with 2 kids and physical therapy for her arm. The nerves had been damaged. She'd regained most of the function, but she'd never have full strength again. The scar was permanent. Some days she looked at that scar and felt mauled angry. Other days she looked at it and felt proud. She'd survived. She'd fought back. She'd won. Physical therapy was twice a week. Her therapist, Marcus, yes, also named Marcus, which Emily found darkly hilarious, was patient and encouraging. You're making good progress, he said, watching her grip a stress ball. The nerve damage means you'll plateau eventually, but you've got about 80% functionality now. Is that enough to type normally for work? Should be. What kind of work are you planning? I got a job offer, consulting for a nonprofit that helps domestic violence survivors hide assets, document financial abuse, that kind of thing. Marcus, the physical therapist, smiled. That's perfect for you, using your experience to help others. Emily squeezed the stress ball harder. Yeah, I figure if I had to live through it, might as well make it mean something. The first client meeting was at a coffee shop in Berkeley. The woman's name was Jennifer, early 40s, nervous, checking over her shoulder every few seconds. I saw your story, Jennifer said. What happened to you? And I thought if she got out, maybe I can too. Emily listened to Jennifer's story. It was horrifyingly familiar. Controlling husband, financial manipulation, gaslighting, threats disguised as concern. Jennifer had discovered her husband was hiding assets, preparing for a divorce where she'd walk away with nothing. Can you help me document it? Jennifer asked, without him knowing. Emily opened her laptop. Tell me where he banks. They worked for 2 hours. Emily showed Jennifer how to take screenshots without leaving digital traces, how to access public records, how to build a paper trail that would hold up in court. You're really good at this, Jennifer said. I had practice. Emily closed her laptop. The most important thing is keeping yourself safe. If he's volatile, if there's any risk of violence, you need to involve the police. He's never hit me. Neither had mine, until he did. Jennifer nodded slowly. Thank you for doing this, for being honest about what could happen. After Jennifer left, Emily sat in the coffee shop for a long time. Rachel, her old roommate, had texted. They were back in touch now, their friendship slowly rebuilding after Marcus's private investigator had threatened Rachel into silence. Proud of you, Rachel's text said. Seriously, you're amazing. Emily looked at her reflection in the window, her arm in its brace, her face older than it had been a year ago, her eyes harder, sadder, but still here, still fighting. I'm not amazing, she whispered to the glass. I'm just still alive. But maybe that was enough. The 1-year anniversary of the museum incident came quietly. Emily had been dreading it, expecting nightmares and flashbacks. Instead, she felt oddly calm. She'd received a letter from Marcus, forwarded through his lawyer since he wasn't allowed direct contact. Emily almost threw it away unopened, but curiosity won. Emily, I know you'll never forgive me. I don't expect you to, but I want you to know I'm getting help. Real help. Not the performance I put on during the trial. I'm in therapy. I'm on medication. I'm finally seeing what I was. My therapist says I'm a narcissist. Clinical diagnosis. She says people like me rarely change, but I'm trying. For myself, not for you. You're gone, I know that. The kids are gone, I know that too. I won't ask you to visit. I won't ask you to let me see them. All I ask is that when they're older, if they ask about me, tell them the truth, not the sanitized version, not the monster version, the real truth, that I love them and I loved you, but I love control more and it destroyed everything. I'm sorry doesn't cover it. I know that, but I am sorry for everything. Marcus Emily read it twice, then she filed it away in a folder marked, maybe someday. Tyler and Lily would ask about their father eventually. When they did, she'd give them this letter. Let them decide what to make of it. But that was a conversation for future Emily to have. Present Emily had enough to deal with. The doorbell rang. A woman Emily didn't recognize stood on the landing. Late 30s, expensive coat, nervous smile. Are you Emily Webb? Emily Davis? Who's asking? My name is Amanda. Amanda Brenner. I think my husband is doing what yours did, the financial thing, and I found your name through the nonprofit. They said you might be able to help. Emily looked at this woman, saw herself 2 years ago, and felt something shift inside her chest. Not closure, not healing, but purpose. Come in, she said. Tell me everything. Amanda sat at Emily's kitchen table, started talking. Emily listened, took notes, asked questions. Tyler played with his trucks nearby. Lily babbled in her playpen. This was their life now. Messy, complicated, sometimes hard, but real in theirs. When Amanda left 2 hours later, she hugged Emily. Thank you. You have no idea what this means. Emily watched her walk to her car, watched her drive away. Then she turned back to her apartment, her children, her laptop full of evidence against another controlling man. People ask if I got justice, Emily thought. I don't know. Marcus is in prison, but he'll get out eventually. I have my kids, but I also have scars that won't heal. I didn't get revenge. I didn't get a fairy tale, but I got out. And now I help other women do the same. That's not a happy ending, but it's my ending, and I'm still writing it. 3 years later, Emily Davis sat in a coffee shop, laptop open, analyzing bank statements. Tyler, now 5, was coloring beside her. Lily, 3 years old, slept in her stroller, one tiny fist wrapped around her favorite stuffed bear. Emily's phone buzzed, a text from Catherine. Tyler's birthday party Saturday. My house, I'll cook. Emily smiled. Their relationship had evolved into something neither of them expected. Not quite friends, not quite family, something in between, something that worked. Her laptop pinged. New message from the nonprofit. Another woman needed help. Another story of financial abuse, control, manipulation. Emily opened the message, read the details, started formulating a plan. She'd finished her MIT degree last year, started her consulting business. She wasn't rich. The settlement from Marcus's estate was tied up in legal fees and restitution payments. But she was independent, self-sufficient, free. The door opened. A woman walked in, looking around nervously. Their eyes met. Emily Davis? The woman asked. That's me. I'm Sarah Martinez. I think my husband is hiding money. I think he's planning to leave me with nothing. Can you help? Emily gestured to the empty chair. Sit down. Tell me everything. Sarah sat, started talking, and Emily listened the way she wished someone had listened to her all those years ago. Tyler tugged her sleeve. Mom, I'm hungry. Give me 5 minutes, baby. He went back to coloring. Lily stirred but didn't wake. And Emily turned back to Sarah, back to the work, back to the life she'd built from the wreckage of the old one. She didn't just survive, Emily thought, watching Sarah's hope flicker to life as they made a plan. She became the weapon that would save others. And in that moment, sitting in an ordinary coffee shop on an ordinary day, Emily felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not perfect, not complete, but real and more than enough.